walk outside your business, do a Gordon Ramsay, pretend that you're sampling your products, and who is it, where are they, and why do they want to eat from your plate? My vision is to create marketing that changes lives. And my team will pull me up on it. They'll go, whose life are you changing? Because ours is getting worse because of this or because of that. And I'm like, nope, that's not what it's about. If you're struggling, we need to know about it.
But I'm also certain
I'll pull you up.
Okay.
I've been taught by Biana Kra, who runs Southside Physio. He goes at me about the difference between staff or team. Staff work for you, teamwork with you.
Okay. Today's guest, Todd, a brilliant business owner, seasoned marketer, and values-driven human. This episode is packed with insight, and I'm excited to share it with you.
You know, this morning it was -7 degrees. They are selling and connecting with those families in -7 degrees. This is commitment. This is loyalty. You're about to ask me who my ideal client is, aren't you? And I said, absolutely. And he goes, hey, what worked for you last time? Why don't we investigate that? And why have you stopped doing it? Oh, I followed a fad, or I got distracted, or I didn't have a plan, or I didn't have a process. So consistency and commitment are two of those most important things you can do in marketing and life, right? It's life advice. Keep it simple. Some of the best advice. Is it finding or is it keeping? And then let's go from there.
Todd, thank you so much for making time to have a chat. I loved our connection where you mentored me to help craft a tourism award. You guided me through winning locally, but also what it is to keep going when we weren't successful nationally. So I value those words, but I also admire all of the other work you do around Canberra. Very, very keen to have a chat, pick your brains and see what I can learn and what we can share.
Sounds fantastic. And just quickly, mate, mentoring happens both ways, right? A good mentoring relationship should be someone getting and giving as much as they get. So all that Tourism Awards allowed me to do was find out your secrets at the same time. So, you know, I was there for myself. I'm glad that you took it as advice, because I was really there to find out how the Hyatt ran and how you did things on a 5-star level. So it's been a long and winding road, our relationship. So let's go a bit deeper.
In this modern day, when there's lots of people talking about marketing strategy and creative strategy and being dynamic, what is your perception of really good, robust marketing strategy?
One of the best lessons that I've ever learned about marketing is from people that struggle with it the most, from small business. If you have to explain some really difficult to understand concepts and hard things, go to somebody that doesn't have all of the background and insights into it. And it's normally a small business that has started because they're passionate about something that they do. They're great technicians. They're a fantastic florist, or they want to be a life coach, or they've started their own management consultancy, or they're a fantastic baker. You know, a small business doesn't have time to do complex marketing. And we've done massive national campaigns. I work with international clients. You know, I used to work with one of the world's largest brands, Red Bull, and they do really cool stuff. But when I got the opportunity to actually start doing marketing training with the Canberra Business Chamber all those years ago with Canberra Business Point, I got asked some really basic questions from people that don't know about the theoretical basis of marketing. And that was, how do you find and keep customers? And doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how much scale that you have in your business, whether you've got a massive marketing team, you've always got to bring it back to basics. And what are we doing today? Are we finding customers, so new people, or are we keeping them? Are we retaining them? And everything flows out of that. So some of the best advice that I've ever heard was actually, you know, questions saying, but what's going to be the best use of my time because I'm time poor? What's the best use of my money because I don't have a lot? How do I get a customer without spending a lot of money and then get my second customer, get my third customer? So I always take a leaf out of the book of people that don't overcook it. Go back to basics. And yeah, we can layer it with tech and we can layer it with great plans and models and theoretical understanding, stuff like that. But it really comes back to stick to your knitting, get it back to basics. Are we finding or keeping customers? How many do we need? What's the value? And then we can start upping the ante depending on the type of market and things like that. But just keep it simple. That's some of the best advice, I guess, life advice that I've been given, but also marketing advice that I give to other people. And I always come back to people and say, what worked for you last time? Why don't we investigate that? And why have you stopped doing it? And it normally gets to, oh, I followed a fad, or I got distracted, or I didn't have a plan, or I didn't have a process. So consistency and commitment are two of those most important things you can do in marketing and life, right? It's life advice. Keep it simple. Some of the best advice. Is it finding or is it keeping? And then let's go from there.
Todd, for small businesses that aren't really focused on a marketing plan or a marketing strategy, what are some of those markers that they need to be mindful of? I'm thinking of small businesses that maybe a bakery, maybe a floristry that has an idea of their need for marketing, but doesn't know what they can achieve in a month, in 2 months, in a year. And some of them grossly overestimate what they can achieve in a month, but underestimate what they can achieve over 6 months or a year. How do you guide someone like that?
I love working with successful businesses. I struggle with startup businesses only because I've done it so much. I feel like I'm always repeating myself, and so I still love it. I love people with passion that are getting into it. But one of the people that I can help the most is existing successful businesses that want to be able to now introduce a layer of marketing to make life easy for themselves, to improve the level of confidence in the numbers going forward. And I always get told the same thing. And I was chatting to a new client that's also a mate yesterday, runs a successful accounting business, right? They've never officially done marketing, but they've been running their business for over 10 years and they are successful. And I said, well, what's made you successful? And he goes, oh, just knowing people in Canberra, growing up in Canberra and having a really good network. I said, no, let's dig a bit deeper. What has made you successful? And he goes, well, I've got really good people around me and we've got a really good team and we can do what we say we do. I go, and so let's keep breaking it down. What is it that you do really well and who do you want to do it with? And he said, oh, you're about to ask me who my ideal client is, aren't you? And I said, absolutely. And he goes, and now you're going to tell me we're going to find more of them? And I said, what I want to do in your business is start introducing some language around marketing in the same way that you go to businesses and introduce language around accounting. In the same way that you tell them what a Div 293 is or what, and I'm pretending that I know what accounting sounds like. I don't. I use good accountants. You're going to teach them about payroll. You're going to teach them about company tax. You're going to teach them about trust structures. You're going to teach them all this stuff that's super technical. Marketing can be super technical as well, but at the end of the day, good accounting should be able to be a growth lever, right? And it's not just about tax compliance or tax minimization. It's about wealth creation and making sure that you've structured it in your business in a way that doesn't waste the money that's coming in. Because once you get that money, yeah, you've got to pay your tax and you've got to do things, but you've got to pay your team. Like you've got to be able to meet your suppliers' needs and you've got to be able to do all of these things. So when it comes back to marketing, the best advice that I can give to a client is, have you thought about your ideal customer and the purpose of why you're here, not just your product? So using your example of a bakery, this isn't about the croissants. This is about how those croissants are getting into the hands and the mouths of the people that you want to feed. And forget about how many croissants you need to make this week. Think about how many mouths and hands you need to walk through that door to put croissants in, and where are they going to come from? I learn so much from other sort of industries, and if I want to learn about what is a great way to run a bakery, I'll probably go and look at what Gordon Ramsay does to run a kitchen. So I'll go and watch Kitchen Nightmares and all these things, and he flips these people running terrible restaurants, but always he does one thing. One of the things that he does is goes out onto the street and takes whatever somebody's making and finds people and saying, do you like the taste of this? Do you know that there's a restaurant just down the corner? And do you know that? And so what he does is, yeah, there's so much involved in running a business, but it's his customers and where are they and what will they like and who are they, and finding out about that's going to make all the difference between a good business and a bad business. You can fix the process, you can fix the product, but if you haven't thought about your customers and put them at the center to start with, you don't have to worry about accounting. You don't have to worry about legal. You don't have to worry about real estate because you don't have a business. So I always tell people that I think marketing is the highest value task that you can do, because it's finding your ideal client and understanding the product that's going to solve their problem. You don't have to worry about any other problem in business, but because before you have one customer, you're not in business. You need to find that first person and then know that you're solving a problem that they're going to be willing to pay for. And then you need to do it better than the person down the street. And that's your competitive strategy. Then you've got to diversify your product. So that's your chocolate croissants, right? Then you've got to work out how to make sure that you've got the right people that are serving them. And now the headache of business starts. But marketing has to be one of those highest value tasks. Sure, I'm a marketer, I'm going to say that. But going back to that successful accountant, he goes, can you have a look at my ideal client? We mapped it out and we're accountants and we've probably written it in a super boring way. He was 60% there. I can just come in and help improve that. And he goes, and so the rest of the day was sending me text messages about saying, here's some more information about my ideal client, blah, 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 blah. And like we kept going back and forward about it. I love motivating people to think about marketing and working on that part of their business because some people just find it so hard. So whether it's a small startup bakery or whether it's a successful accounting firm or whether it's a massive national software firm, knowing and understanding your customers has to be at the heart of it, right? So are you going to be able to work for 1 month or 6 months? Where are your customers? What are they willing to spend? What are the problems that you're solving? That's how you're going to be able to do your forecast. That's how you're going to be able to find the future success of what you're doing. And then you've got to make sure that you're doing it better than the person down the road. Walk outside your business, do a Gordon Ramsay, pretend that you're sampling your products and who is it, where are they, and why do they want to eat from your plate?
It's a journey. It doesn't sound like just a transaction where you say, hey, this is what you've got to go do and go and do it. You've got to take the businesses on a journey, use your experience, but also speak of their passion. If they're passionate about accounting, if they're passionate about the croissant, that's an interesting framing because, in life, when we work in successful enterprise, when a successful enterprise hits difficult times, the first thing they'll cut is the marketing budget. It's been true in the 80s. It's true today. How do you guide a client to think just a little differently?
It's a tough one, right? But it starts with business owners understanding where marketing sits in their profit and loss, where marketing sits in the budget. Is it a cost center or is it a profit center? And if you are always coming from the glass, half empty and marketing is always a cost and we're not seeing return, you're doing the wrong marketing. You're absolutely doing the wrong marketing. Accounting's a cost. Accounting isn't going to sit there and let's talk about tax compliance. That's not going to make you money. That's going to reduce your expenses, right? Marketing is an absolute profit driver in your business. So even during tough times, and that your competitors or the market is going to get tighter, that's when you need to focus on your marketing. You might not spend more, but sharpen it up. But don't spend less, because if you start spending less, you're going to lose traction, you're going to lose market share, and at the same time, you've actually got an opportunity to stay ahead by not changing, because if everybody else is pulling back, if you maintain your position while the rest of the market is retracting, you've actually just grown. I'm sure an economist would use it as a seasonal adjustment or use some fantastic word, but one of my clients actually told me that during the 2008 GFC, that all they did was spend exactly as much money as they did in 2006 when they were having a really profitable year. And during tough times, they actually saw growth because not everybody pulled back spending. They actually gained market share because the competitors were pulling back. And then he turned around and he said, I've been in business 30 years and I can tell you all the cycles that we've been through. And I learned from an early stage that if I keep investing at the same or a better level, then I can actually maintain the position in my market and I don't have to spend more later to regain it. I've taken that lesson and I share it. But what I've learned over those 17 years of running my business, it's not my job to convince people. Trying to convince them to spend more or spend differently is a really hard task, and it'll cost me more time and money trying to change their mind. So I just need to find people that I can either share that story with and they believe it and that are willing to test it, and I'll test it with them. Marketing's a science. It's an absolute process of continual testing and finding what's working. So I'm not going to guarantee that in a tough time, if you spend the same amount of money, that you're going to get the same result. because that's, the definition of insanity if you keep doing the same thing and expecting the same result, right? What I want to talk about with them is, what do you believe in? And if you believe that your market still needs your product, regardless of the economic conditions and rising interest rates and all these things, stick with them. Because if you stick with your market and your customers in the tough times, they'll come back and reward you 5x, 10x in the good times. And I've seen it time and time again. How do I deal with it as a business owner? If someone cuts their budget, I still need to, keep my staff active and my team, and I still need to run a business. So it just means I need to diversify my client base, because not every part of the economy is going to be hit at the same time. The pandemic taught me that, and lockdown taught me that. And I was really interested, a bit of advice I'd shared with someone. I was going, the only way I can tell if your marketing is really going to work if you stop everything all at once. I knew that could never happen. I knew that there was no condition in Canberra, in Australia, in the world that could ever happen that would stop everything at once. And then it happened. The pandemic forced everyone to stop everything. That's what people thought. But in Canberra, they declared March 22, 2021, they declared 2020, they declared the pandemic right after the bushfire, and everyone stopped. Not my client, that's an IT company. Everyone is scrambled for hardware and they had to go and work from home. My allied health client said, they've just shut everything down and I need to stop everything instantly. I said, that really sucks. My online consulting company, they had to keep going. And so it stopped for about 4 days and everyone just had to change. So the way that we reached people, and then all of a sudden e-commerce started booming because we were all shopping from home, had all this time and money. Some of the not-for-profits that I worked for had to start doing tele-consulting, and the growth of online just peaked. We weren't quiet. We had one of our busiest years ever, but it was full of adrenaline and anxiety. But the same rule would apply. You just have to keep investing either your time or your money, because marketing is a journey. It's the long game. There's tactics like advertising that you can turn on and off, but the people that really get results are the people that commit to understanding their customers over time and stick with them as they change.
17 years, you said, as a business owner. That's not going to be a linear chart. That's going to see a lots of peaks and troughs. That's going to see success. That's also going to see at least glimpses of challenge. How do you view challenges in your business, and how do you internalize, or how do you process those challenges?
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of get to the point where when I use the word 17 years, some people see it as a badge of honor. Some people see it as a weight around your neck. Like, depends where you are in business, right? And there's no minimum standard for running a business. There's just, a level of what you're willing to put up with and how committed you are to it. And I wish there was a business license. Like, there's compliance and regulation, but I wish there was like a course you had to do to go through it. And I think that would be...
There is. It's called life.
Yeah. And it's, when do you graduate? Like,
it's a constant.
I hope I'm not in a box looking up going, that means I've graduated. So the game of life, or the big game of business that someone once told me about, you just choose which part of the game you want to focus on at which time. But good businesses will always be the ones that do a really great job staying passionate about what they do, being able to do it in a profitable way, and doing it with people that they really love. I didn't know that at the start. But for me, it's about how do I create that balance of surrounding myself with great people, and that might be my team members, or that might be my clients, or that might be my community. Really making sure that my skills and my capabilities and those of my team are being focused on good and not evil. I always feel I'll genuinely do what I do because I love doing it so much. I do it for free. If I didn't have to pay them, if I didn't have to, pay myself and pay my own bills and everything like that. And I can say, like, yeah, it's definitely the ups and downs, but being an employer or being a business owner is a choice. Not everyone should do it, and it's not a badge of honor. It's just an alternative way to run your life. I would love the pressure and anxiety of working for someone else. I've just forgotten about how to do it. But I genuinely do work for someone else. I work for my 60 clients every week. And the flexibility and the challenge of understanding and learning all these new industries and understanding what they're going through and being part of it with them, and my absolute privilege to get inside their businesses and see what's going on. I work for them and we work for them every single day. So maybe I just started a business because I was terrible at job interviews. But I've never had a job interview that I haven't got the job for. Like, I've literally never been rejected. I don't know what that feeling is like because I didn't apply for too many jobs. There are 4 or 5 jobs I had from an early age till the time I started my business when I was 26. Do your maths, I'm 45 right now. I've always found fun things to do. I've just been chasing the fun stuff. And you can have fun in business. And cool, it'd be fun if I made 5 times the profit this month or this year or this week, but I've never been there for the money. And I was told that if you look after people, then the money will look after itself, work on the sense and the dollars will work themselves out later. And what made sense to me was doing good things for good people. And in my business, like we don't put it on the packet anywhere, but my vision is to create marketing that changes lives. So if I ever get to the point where I realize what I'm doing isn't making a difference or an impact, I kind of run that test, and sometimes it's hard. And my team will pull me up on it. They'll go, whose life are you changing? Because ours is getting worse because of this or because of that. And I'm like, oh, wow. I've heard that a couple of times over the years. That's our test. Pull it up, put the handbrake on, and let's stop for a second. Let's stop getting carried away with what we're doing and ask ourselves, are we doing the right thing? Are we changing someone's life for the better here? And I can run that test and genuinely say, whether it's helping someone market a pair of shoes, or helping someone market an early learning center, or helping, someone raise money for a charity or sell a piece of software. I need to work out whose life that's changing and whose life is it making better. The runners are going on that mum's feet and she's going out for a run, and that's helping her mental health. That piece of software is helping that business owner do their books and work out how they're going to, pay their loans and, release them from, the tyranny of working for somebody else. Or, that charity is going to be able to help the homeless this week. And I'm off the back of Vinny's CEO Sleep Out doing some little volunteer work for them. And whatever you're doing, if you're not making an impact, like have a think, could you be doing something else or could you be doing it better? So yeah, it's a roller coaster ride, but you just always got to get to that point in the roller coaster where you just go, am I loving this? Stay seated, keep it down, keep the bar down. Let's go again.
When your team trusts you to have the conversation around, this is hurting us, this is troubling us, what does that teach you about yourself as a leader?
It teaches me that hopefully I've encouraged them and created a space that's safe enough to have that chat. And my team might be sitting here and saying, oh, he hasn't had that chat with me today, but I'm always trying to encourage them to act like business owners and make decisions about what you do next, like it's your own business. You're not working for me, you're working with me. And I always introduce myself, and it doesn't matter who the team member is. They'll say, oh, so what do you do? I go, oh, I'll work with that person, or I work with this person. And they might be a junior staff member, and the junior staff member will turn around and say, I work for you. It's like, nah, we work together. And it's we've definitely got to have that work together moment. And if they can turn around and say, well, you told me that we work together, and that the way that person was speaking to me, I don't know what was going on for them, but that's kind of not okay. Or like every now and then you'll hit a moment where, a client or a supplier, they'll be under massive stress and they'll blow up and something will happen. And my team member might be involved with it or might just cop some rebound of it. And if we need to sit down and say, all right, well, let's pull it apart and let's work out what happened. And, very rarely happens. But if I need to turn around and sit down with the client and say, are you okay? Like, what's going on for you? Or if it's just bad behavior, if I need to pull it up and they sack us, that's okay. I'll take it. 3 times in 17 years, I've had to have that conversation because the relationship broke down, or we don't align with who they are, or we thought they were someone else and they weren't. and I've worked with hundreds of companies. So I would say it's a 0.005%, error rate, that we can pick good people. But your question was around, what do I do when a team member sort of speaks up? Well, I kind of realized that maybe I should have stopped and thought and reflected and take more time to ask the question, what's going on? So in our business, we've actually built in multiple checkpoints where on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on an informal basis, on a planned basis, that we're checking in and understanding what's going on with our team, what's going on with them personally, professionally, how they're developing. But we create a moment and a space where if there are problems, we can talk about them early. Don't wait 6 months for a professional development. Check in and make sure that they've got a career plan that's working in this way. I worked for the public service locally, and once every 6 months, we sat down and had to have that tough conversation about this and that. We do it monthly. And there's some people that hate it, and I force them to tell me a really simple thing. And I ask them their happiness score. Out of 10, how do you rank your happiness? And some people know net promoter score, 9 to 10 is they're a super promoter and they're going to go out and tell everybody else. 7 or 8, they're passive, and it means they're having a good time, but they're loyal. 1 to 6 means they're detractors. So from a happiness point of view, if one of my team members have slumped for whatever reason, something that I've done, something that somebody else in the team's done, something that their work has done, like a challenge or a failure that they've had on a project that they have or haven't been confident to talk about, or something at home or life is standing in the way. If it's affected their happiness, they're going to bring that into work. Let's talk about it. So I actually have a target to keep my team's happiness at 8 or above, and we ask every person every month. And someone changed their score last week and they go, I reckon I'm a 7.5. I reckon I'm a 6.5 this month, but I wrote 7.5 because I don't want to stuff your numbers. And I said, nope, that's not what it's about. If you're struggling, we need to know about it, because if I can work with you and put a bit more time and attention into that, you'll help not only yourself, the team. The numbers is the end of the day, the answer about how we're going. So something simple like a happiness score is the answer to, have we created a space where we can talk about our challenges and problems, but are we willing to be honest with ourselves and have open conversations? And I know I can be hard to work with sometimes if I'm going at a million miles an hour. And one thing that I struggle with is someone that says, I know you're busy, but I'm going, it's my job to be busy. But it's also my job to listen, and you're part of my busy job. So let's take that time. Let's have that chat. And I do it best over breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So let's go to lunch. And I go, yeah, cool. I normally end up paying. Great. That's the highest value task that I can do. Buy them lunch and listen. I'll be there every time.
As a business leader that's really busy, what's your happiness score sitting here right now?
My happiness score? Honestly, one of my greatest things that I can do in life is listen to other people's stories, share my own, but problem solve, find a problem and try to solve it by talking about it and bouncing off other creative people. So right now, and through the magic of video and creation, we shouldn't say this is a Saturday morning, right? We shouldn't say that we're sitting here and doing it. But I had to tell, Rach, who works in my business, and she's my co-director and also my daughter, I said, I'm going to work like this morning. And I'm really happy to do it. Maybe this isn't work telling stories, but for me, I'm a 9. I'm a 9.5. I can't be a 10. Because a 10 would be, and my daughter's sitting there watching how to do it, and so she can take over the business or something, or I'm sitting in your seat. That would make me a 10. Like being on the other side of it and asking the questions. That's my happy place, right? But I love learning. I love problem solving. I love talking about marketing. But I love when other people really get that spark and share their passions with me. And so, yeah, business can always be hard. And, this week I had a team member said after 3.5 years that they're moving on. Oh, that's tough because we've invested so much and I'm thinking about all the things moving forward. This week it's end of tax time, like it's the end of the financial year. And so we've got to focus on accounts, and that's the boring stuff. But business doesn't stop. Even when you go on holidays, all these things, it's just about finding that balance. And, you paid for the coffee, so I'm happy to be here, mate.
Focusing on business owners and business leaders, I see lots of people in media or successful business people talking about work-life balance and, giving yourself that time to start the day. And I'm going, this is fantastic of you as a business leader today. But if you can wind back the years for us, Todd, to go back to the start when you started your business, what were those formative years like? Was there a work-life balance, or was there a go to get the business, to grow the business, to, find the right talent, build the team? And then once you achieve that, is it then that you slowly start focusing on the other metrics? What is it like for you?
When I first started, I was a firm believer of fake it till you make it. As long as you can be confident in what you do, like just don't show people that you're struggling behind the scenes. Don't show them that the seams are splitting apart, and they won't have to know. As long as they're just looking at the front and not the back, you'll be fine. I didn't have a business plan to start. The only reason I had a business partnership agreement was my brother spoke to, a business coach or saw some stuff, and, starting a business, I started by myself. And then within the first 6 months, I was in partnership with my brother, and we were just really like-minded people that used to, spend our years growing up just fighting with each other and being brothers. And then all of a sudden we're in business together. We absolutely made it up as we went along. But I think one of the things that we did a lot was learn and listen from other people, listen to other people. And we still didn't, be smart enough and write our business plan down, even a small business plan. My initial business plan, or my first goal, was to make exactly the amount of money, and not a dollar more, exactly the amount of money in 12 months that I was making working at Australian Capital Tourism. I just wanted to make the same salary by myself and prove that I could do it. What I didn't know is that business actually has a cost. You can't just have a salary without the on costs of running business. But I did it. And one of the main reasons I did it is because at the time, when I first started the business, my partner at the time, who wasn't my wife, she, was silly enough to sign that contract a few years later. She said, "I'll support you to do it. But if you don't hit that goal, like, can I have a crack at it? Can I be the one to start a business?" I said, "Just give me a year. Give me a year. Like, I'll do it." And I did it. Like, in the first round, I go, "Oh, that's possible? Like, awesome. Like, let's go again for exactly the same." I got to give myself a raise, right? And then because 6 months in, it was my brother, I go, "Oh, we need to make double because we need to pay his salary." So all of a sudden, making double. How do you make double in business? How do you make double the salary that you're on before? And he came back from overseas to do it, and he was on more money than me, and he gets paid more money. And I go, "Oh, okay, now my next goal is get paid the same amount that my brother made when working overseas in a better paid job than me." It's my older brother, right? So we just focused on the money, but we were never really focused on the money. We were going, wouldn't it be cool if we could do that work for that person? Wouldn't it be great if we could fix that problem? Because that is the worst way to do it. And we actually thought we had better ways of doing things, and we could see other people doing it. Go, let's not be like them. So our first goals should have been written down. They weren't. The first way that we started, it should have been more than making a salary. Because that's not a business, right? You're not in business till you make a profit and work for more than wages. We should have had a partnership agreement, not in year 4. We should have had it in year 1 where we started. And, we had some struggles because we did it, and we had some rocks. But I do remember the day that we decided to employ one of someone that used to work with me. This is Lauren, and if Lauren's sitting here watching this, she'll laugh, and because she's worked with me the longest. So I've been in business for 17 years, and she's worked with me for 15 of those 17. She'll correct me. She'll probably tell me it's 16. I think she's worked for me every year except one. And one of the things that I knew that we weren't running a business properly is my brother was doing the accounts and he was running payroll. Payroll shouldn't be hard with 4 people. But it is when you're a marketer and not an accountant or a bookkeeper or a payroll expert. And we stuffed up her pay. And that was in the first 6 months of her working for us. And now she's been with us 15 or 16 years. And 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 I joke about it all the time, but the day we stuffed up her pay and it affected her mortgage payments because her mortgage was automatically coming out of her bank account where the pay automatically went into. Like me and my brother didn't care. We could just move some money around out of her bank account. She cared. And she turned around and said, that can't happen again because now I'm going to get like the bank charging me interest and it's going to cost me money. I said, oh, I'm really sorry about that. And I sat down with my brother and go, why are we doing this? We're not bookkeepers. You know what? We should pay people that know what we're doing to help us run our business. It was that moment where we realized that we had to pay people better than us to do the things we're not good at. And why don't we just stick to marketing and the things that we are awesome at? That's when I really realized I was running a business. And I wish I had have taken that advice sooner. And I wish I had have realized that I would have probably become profitable quicker if I had have used an accountant and bookkeeper, if I had have got better legal and structural advice, if I, had have probably paid a business coach to learn the things that I was learning slowly faster. Now I share my advice with people earlier. Use a marketer earlier, because if you're not a marketer and you're a great technician or you're a great producer or you're a great consultant, spend the time doing what you do well and pay other people to help you get your business off the ground and quicker. Find professionals, use professionals in every part of your business, and you'll be a better business. That's what business is. That's what I learned, but I took too long. That's my first regret. Not writing all my goals down early and not setting them high enough, and not understanding that even if you can't take profits on day one, you need to reinvest in other people to help you 2x or 3x or increase those profits quicker in business, and make sure you're paying everyone, because if you pay that person in the first 6 months properly, they might be with you 16 years later and be your longest running team member and be the most loyal person that you can rely on for anything. And that's what Lauren's become. And I always apologize for what we did 15 and a half years ago. She laughs.
What does loyalty mean to you?
It's a really big value of mine, and I think loyalty, you need to be loyal first before you can expect it back. So loyalty needs to be a give before a get. But loyalty means that your values aligned. It's, you can have loyalty without commitment, because you can, actually be loyal to something but not really involved. But loyalty to me is someone that's willing to be in it for the long run, and is willing to not just be blindly loyal. I think that's stupidity. They're willing to be openly and authentically loyal. You're going to support them. They're going to support you. And when customers for any business, and let me switch into marketer mode, loyalty is one of the highest forms of customer engagement that you can create. And some businesses go, oh, it's too hard to run a loyalty program, and I have to have a card, and I have to have software, and I've got to get a clip note, or I've got to get Marcelo, or I've got to link it to my POS system, or I've got to do all these things. No, you need to understand your customers and be willing to go into a long-term relationship with them to keep giving back and rewarding them for their overall value that they've given you over time. Loyal customers will give you more feedback. Loyal customers will, deal with the extended delivery times or the stuff ups because they care enough about you. So loyalty is care, but loyalty is also value. And when it comes back to loyalty is commitment, but loyalty is also willing to build and grow with you. Once you have loyalty with team members, it's because you've got that give and take and you've communicated early and you change the business with them, not at them or around them. You change it for them and you grow together. So for me, loyalty is about growth with people. For business, it's the state that you can get where you truly value and understand and know your customers, and you not just chasing the new person all the time. It's the marriage. It's not the first date or the passion dash, right? Loyalty is the highest state that you can get to, either being a business owner or an employee or a moment there or a customer with a business. And you need to be able to be there for the rewards, but you also need to be willing to be there for the change. So yeah, Loyalty shows itself in a lot of different ways, and it's one of my highest values.
You spoke so passionately and caringly about your loyal staff, but I'm also certain you've
I'll
got.
pull you up.
Okay.
I've been taught by Biana Kra, who runs Southside Physio. He goes at me about the difference between staff or team.
Mhm.
Staff work for you,
Mhm.
team work with you.
Okay.
So he has put me on a mission to join him to evangelize the word team. And I think it's great. I've got to pull myself up all the time, and staff is a stick, team is a feeling. So a lot of people just go, just get over yourself. And I go, no, I think it's worth changing. I think it's worth changing that conversation, staff and team. And I'm not trying to teach you to suck eggs or anything like that, but join me in
Would love
changing.
to.
I'm on your team. You're on my team. I don't have to work for you to be on my team. My family can be on my team, and my community, my team members that I employ, they're on my team. Teams are so much better than staff.
Would love to. Would love to. Let me give that a go. You spoke so passionately and caringly about your team. I'm sure you also have clients that have been with you for a long time and they're loyal to you, and that loyalty and trust is there. When you come up with campaigns that you really love and you take this to pitch to an existing client, not all the time will you see the same vision, the same copy as aligning. How do you have those conversations with people that you have worked with, that you trust, that you have lots of care for, that might not always align with your thinking or the campaign or the pitch or the direction? How do you have those conversations?
If you come up against a challenge where you've put your creative self into something, if you think this is going to be the winner, this is going to absolutely get the best return on investment and do all of these things without understanding the mental space or the challenge or the friction you're going to get from your client, you've probably spent too much time in the wrong direction to start with. Ideating and working through and iterating and getting that client on board when it was just a seed of an idea or an atom, before it creates and attaches itself to the electrons, before it becomes, the nucleus and then creates a cell, and before it grows its own life, if you didn't have the people on board to start with, you've kind of missed the point. So I don't think I've ever got to the point where I've spent a lot of time or massive money and made a loss because I've pitched something that someone didn't want to do. Talking and negotiating and understanding the biggest challenge means that you're going to design something that hits the mark. I will say that sometimes I've presented ideas and they're going, mate, you're going to have to convince me on that because I hate it. And hate is such a strong word. And I'm going, but I have learned that even in the hate or even in the bad ideas or even in the misses, you're not always going to have the hits, but there's a lesson to be learned. Which bit can we save? And I've kind of used it also to encourage people to come up with stupid and crazy ideas. And they'll go, oh, well, what if we did this and there was monkeys jumping out of a hot air balloon? Could we actually get monkeys? And I'm like, I don't think we could get monkeys. But what if there was a hot air balloon actually that did this and did that? What can we take from the craziness or the creativity of this idea that we could save and we could turn around? So even pitches that have lost, and we're different from, we're not a big creative agency that is just going all or nothing and hardcore on a massive pitch. We're a marketing agency that uses creativity and uses design and uses the pitch method to use campaigns as a bigger process and as a bigger part of it. So, maybe I'm not putting everything on the line for a big idea, and I've never felt that feeling of massive drop or failure. But I think there's something in everything, in every good idea. My biggest thing is never lose the problem solving or the creative spark. And because years down the track, could we reignite it and turn it into something else? A great example about it's always worth keeping ideas on the back burner is being in Canberra. I love, my local clients, and one of my favorite is the Capital Region Farmers Market out at Epic. run by volunteers, run by Rotary, and it is Australia's, and we've checked, Australia's largest and longest running genuine farmers market. And the reason why it is such a success is because Rotary Club of Hall has absolutely committed themselves to their original vision, which was connect the Canberra community with growers and give those growers business opportunities, but give the community better access to better food, right? It's not all healthy. You can buy donuts there. You know, you can
donuts.
You can buy Kim's crepes. You can buy the sometimes foods, but you can feed your family with food that has been picked yesterday, that's been slaughtered last week, that's been made by hand. Like, the most important thing that you can do is feed your family, keep them healthy, feed yourself. Your family might be you and the person next door, might be your local community. You don't have to have 3 kids and 14 dependents to say that they're your family. To keep yourself alive in a healthy way, but also support local growers and support the local families. There's 150 family businesses in that market, and it's fantastic. And I can tell you, some of the marketing ideas I gave them 10 years ago, they're still talking about. It's hard to change, people that are just going, as long as we've got farmers in a shed, it's great. And I know they will laugh if they're looking at this. But 10 years ago, we were talking about online shopping. We've been trying to solve that problem with them for 10 years. This year, they said, I think we're ready. Nothing creative about online shopping. They're not going to be, absolute pioneers. But how do you get 150 businesses, of which only about 8 of the producers currently sell online? How do you get more? Like, this is a big mission. And isn't the farmers markets all about turning up to a shed at 7 a.m. in the morning? This morning it was -7 degrees. They are selling and connecting with those families in -7 degrees. This is commitment. This is loyalty. They've been running for over 20 years. How do we get those people online? Well, the biggest opportunity is, how do we connect with more families if they do? This could revolutionize the fact that that shed might disappear one day, but they're still going to keep growing their food. So how do we create new connections in new ways to keep families fed and to keep growers' families in business? 10 years we've been talking about it, mate. That's commitment. But that idea, if I had walked away from it 10 years ago, or they walked away from us as a marketing partner, that would have been dead. Someone else would have had to try. I'm glad that we stayed loyal to each other. I'm glad that we stayed committed.
And I think that's how most great partnerships are built. It takes time to understand the different players, like you said before, where they are with their business, where they are with their mission, how they're understanding their customers. But you also touched on big brands like Red Bull. I'm very keen to understand how you bring, again, this is my perception, a slightly smaller can, a weirder taste, a higher price, but when you go to their socials, there is no can advertised. There is very little beverage advertised. There is more lifestyle advertised. There's more adrenaline advertised. There's more be your best self advertised. There's give yourself wings, or Red Bull gives you wings. All of that kind of marketing in there. And they run a successful venture. As I understand it, the original formula is from somewhere in Thailand, where they have
Dang.
Yeah, the 2 Red Bulls are still pictured on it. In the northern part of Sri Lanka, they don't have Red Bull. They just have that original gold can with the 2 Red Bulls on it.
Yeah, and it's not effervescent. It's flat.
It's flat.
It's still.
Yeah.
And they've since put bubbles into it, but the original bottle, the tonic, the Grat and Dang, it was sold as a tonic, as a health tonic in Thailand. When Dietrich Mateschitz, was traveling around the world, and in 1986 was in Thailand, 1987, and saw this was the tonic that was keeping the 14 to 16 hour a day workers going, and that was like, he was just going, well, what is keeping these people energized and what's keeping them up? Because in Europe, they were drinking coffee.
Yep.
In Thailand, they were drinking this product which had caffeine in it, but it actually has, taurine and glucuronolactone, and actually they were using it as a stimulant in the same way as in the Amazon they were using betel leaf, and
Mm-hmm.
like every culture had this thing. He just worked out it was owned by the largest Japanese pharmaceutical company, and there was actually money in it. So when he bought that, smart businessman, took it home, put bubbles in it, changed the can, but thought, how am I going to sell this? And it was creating a lifestyle around it, and it was creating a brand around it. So one of the world's greatest, brand builders and lifestyle builders, and one of the globe's greatest brands that not everyone has to be part of, but they know what it stands for.
How do you take that knowledge, that experience that you've seen with those big brands and offer some tips and tricks to the local brands that you're working with? Because you don't always have to invent new ideas. You can learn from ideas. I'm not talking about copying ideas, and sometimes ideas need to translate to your local market well also, but how do you bring some of that experience, that lived experience to your local clients?
I believe that every ideas are like water, right? So there is a finite amount of water on the surface of the earth, and water just goes up and down and around. So, salt water gets evaporated, goes up, the clouds do things to it, our climate spins it around. We're kind of destroying it, but then it comes back down. The land will pull the salt out of it. It'll turn around as fresh water. There's way more salt water than fresh water on Earth. The water can't leave the Earth. It just goes round. We just change it into different ways. We change it into drinking water. We change it into water for industrial cleaning. We change it into water to bathe in. I actually believe ideas are the same. Every idea that's ever been on the face of the earth can't leave the earth. We're just recycling those ideas. We're changing the ideas in different ways, and we're applying it to our scale, our size, our time in life. AI is not new. Machines learning to do things. Even before machines learned to do things, there was humans, training animals. Now we're just training the machines to do things for us. And then, there's nothing new. There's only ideas that already exist, and we just change it to suit the period of our life or our commercial need, right? So how do we find those great ideas? I do R&D a lot, like research and development, or I joke and saying it's a rip off and duplicate, right? As a small business owner, you don't have time or money to go and invent new ideas. But the other I that you can use is innovate. Can you find the way that someone else is doing something? Go, that's what I need. I just need to do it in my way. So you change it to suit your circumstances, learn from pick the good bits, reduce the waste, change the personality of it, and then apply it. If you're copying, you're probably always going to be behind because that idea's already happened. How can you apply that idea to your own circumstance and what you can do? So what can people take from Red Bull? And I worked for Red Bull, like 3 Sides didn't have Red Bull as a client, but I worked for Red Bull for a couple of years as a student. And they had a fantastic program called the Student Brand Manager Program. And it was our job to be on campus and increasing usage through education. And anybody in sales will go, you are full of shit because you were just trying to flog Red Bull on campus. And I go, yeah, of course I was. But I was trying to change usage patterns by telling people that you can use Red Bull when you're studying, and there's cans small enough to fit in your bag, sneak it into the library, and, University of Canberra represent. We would have people that would go in the library and just sneak cans to people, go, if you need this, here you go. And they go, oh my gosh, really? Thanks, man. You could use Red Bull for partying. It was the best. I got paid to go to parties, but take Red Bull and then tell people how you could mix drinks. I had a bartending experience as well, that helped. You could use Red Bull when driving, because if you're at uni, the chance of you having to drive back to Sydney because that's where your family were from, or Bathurst or Batemans Bay, everyone was driving when we were students. P.S. Don't party and drive. And the last one was, could Red Bull be used when playing sport? So Red Bull was useful as part of either pre-activity stimulation if mixed with water, or some people would say recovery. you'd have to believe the science to believe that it was good for sport. But all those other parts, if you needed stimulants and you're going to use stuff like that, here's a legal stimulant, here's a safe stimulant. Don't drink too much of it, too much of anything. Too many carrots is going to do bad to you, right? But if you could actually use that in a fantastic way, then you're going to meet it at uni and you're going to take it into your work life, because in your work life, you've got money then to buy it for yourself. And that's where they're going to get the real sales, when you can afford to buy it for yourself. But they wanted to create a usage pattern and habit. They weren't selling to kids. I wasn't going into preschools. I was doing it with adults that could make a conscious choice and decision. And personally, I think it's way better than Coke, right? It's way better than a lot of the other things that you can drink. So if you're deciding, it's better than coffee. It's more fun than coffee. How many, base jumping coffee brands have you ever seen? And how many Formula One teams sponsored by a coffee brand have you ever seen? It's a cool brand. It does cool things. The lesson that I learned from Red Bull is how they did it. It was about finding the right target market or your ideal client, and their ideal client was identified. One part of the market was uni students. Create that usage pattern, find ways that you can solve problems for them by understanding them and knowing them. The student brand manager program I learned from, and then I had a national student accommodation company. I said, why don't we have a student brand manager program on campus telling students about student accommodation in the same way that we kind of used to tell students about Red Bull. And my client said, how are you going to do that? I'm going, employ students that live here to get other students to come and see the facilities are heaps better than their share homes or they're heaps better than those daggy old res at uni. Like, that's fun, but it's a death trap. Well, it was back in when I was at uni. I'm sure they've fixed it. But life's always better when you live in uni, a com run by this company that I ran for, that I work for. It's always better. The parties are better. It's more fun. Like the facilities are better. Oh, you pay a little bit more, but hey, are you paying or are your parents paying, or like who's actually paying for this? So I learned heaps from Red Bull. Actual programs I took and transposed into different industries. I created an event called the Tour de Farce, which was a little monkey bike race on campus that went around Australia. I learned that from Red Bull, from the Billy Cart Grand Prix, that they said it's really expensive to run the Billy Cart Grand Prix and you need a really big hill. We didn't have one. I said, how could we create something that was really fun? So I actually learned from Red Bull to help Red Bull. I learned from Red Bull to help other businesses. And I learned from Red Bull to help myself. And I also learned, don't try and convince someone they need something when they don't. If you don't need Red Bull, don't use it. If you hate Red Bull and you want to have an argument about it, that's cool. I don't need you to like it. I'll just find the people that do. Find the people that need you and love you and do the most for them. Create your little circle, create your tribe. Red Bull has a tribe. Some people will drink V, some people will drink Monster and all of that. They have followers and customers. Red Bull has one of the most powerful things in the world as a tribe, and great brands who understand their customers keep building on that over time, and they build that tribe and they build those connections. So that's what I learned from Red Bull is find your people and create a tribe.
You've trained and spoken with lots and lots of people. I've watched you in sessions you've delivered with energy and passion and getting everyone engaged. How do you know that through your training, you're making a difference?
I believe that education is power, right? So you should be able to, one of our greatest investments should be educating our kids from an early age with early learning, making sure that our educators are doing the very best job they can. Being inspired by teachers is where I realized that education was something that can really empower you as a person, develop your confidence and make you a good human. So I had great experiences with teachers and I wanted to be a teacher myself. And then I went and did like a prac as a teacher, not a prac, sorry, an internship in a kindergarten. I knew I would never, ever, ever be a primary school teacher because the kids were just like absolutely, testing. And I was young, so I didn't know that I was going to be a parent one day and, kids are put on the earth to test adults and then make them better people. So in adult education and training, I got to the point where I thought, well, maybe this is one of the ways that I can use marketing to change lives. And I could actually use marketing education to help a small business owner that can't afford to spend a lot on marketing to help themselves. So from the very first project that I did paid in my business 17 years ago was running a training workshop. And I went to that training workshop, and it was a weird situation that I went on. My first day of business was actually 2 days after the day my mother-in-law died. And I went from the hospital in Sydney, with my then partner and now wife, to Mudgee to go and deliver a workshop for the first time. I didn't know that the next 17 years were going to be education, and training was going to be a big part of what I did. But I was making it up on that day. I'd presented workshops before, but now I was getting paid to do it. But what had just happened in our lives, like literally 48 hours beforehand, was I was kind of a bit shell-shocked. So it was a marketing workshop, and it was on digital marketing. And I was standing there in Mudgee, and I just thought, does this matter? Like, how does this really matter? So on that first day, my first ever training course that I was paid to do, I actually asked someone and said to them, can you actually use any of this that I'm talking about? So I doubted myself on the first hour, on the first day, and the first thing that I was paid to do in my job. And they go, yeah, this is great. No one's ever told me any of this stuff before. I said, but really, like, I'm going to leave. What are you going to do? Like, how are you actually going to do something with this knowledge? And they go, oh, I'll just go and sign up for an account on that Facebook thing you just told me about. And it wasn't the Facebook back then. And so then I just thought, that's a good point. Why don't I just keep asking people, like, how are they going to use it? So I know that some people walk out of my workshops and just enjoyed the 3 hours or the 5 hours or the 2 days or however long we were together. I know that they enjoyed it, and they heard a lot of stuff. They didn't write anything down, and they'll never do it. I get it. But during that couple of days, if that allowed them to unplug from the everyday business and they got to think about other things, and I know some people will sit there and not listen and do other things, cool. I'll be that business respite space for them. But if I know that 80 or 90% of people there can do one thing and walk away with that one lesson, then I know that I've made a difference. So I ask them at the end of every one of my workshops, even if I've been pumped with questions and we're running over time, I'll cut my content short and say, we're going to finish. I need everybody right now to tell me that one thing that you're going to start with in the next week or the next 2 weeks. Because in business, if you don't do something about what you just learn, or if you don't fix something that's broken, it'll just keep dragging you down. You'll keep wasting time and money, not taking advantage of it. So when I ask that question, I always get people going, oh, I'm unsure, maybe this. I said, pick one. Like, absolutely commit to something that you can change in your business. So that's what I use. And where possible, I actually go back and I'll follow them on Instagram, or I'll send them an email, or they'll send me an email. And I love, like, 3 weeks later, they'll go, I've just written my first email newsletter. Can you check it out and tell me whether there's too many words? And I'll look at that. Like, that's my time to know that what I'm doing is working. And I say, this is awesome. Terribly written, way too long, and your pitches are awful. Think about this, and this. And they go, that's exactly what I thought. I'm going to change those things. I appreciate it. And that's it. Like, they may never turn into a, full fee paying client that I've got on a retainer for the next 3 years. I don't need to. I've helped them. And I think training needs to help people where they're at and when they're there. And I've had people come back to my training courses literally 2 or 3 times to hear the same thing. And they actually tell me, they go, I wasn't ready last time, or I'm going to pick one more thing that you're talking about. And I might talk about 10. I might talk about 15 different things, or how to find your ideal client, or develop a strategy, or just use Google ads, or develop a loyalty program. And if they're going to come back and find one other thing and one other thing, I know that I'm changing something. If I can help them run their business better, great. I even said to one person, if you walk away from today and realize that business isn't for you, this wasn't a business startup course. If you walk out of this course and 20% of you decide not to go into business because now you know the truth, my job here is done. Because you know how bloody hard it is now. Don't do it. Stay away from it. But you just need to be given that advice and that insight. That's where education comes in. And that's how I know that it's working. When people are doing something with what they've learned, I can see it or they tell me.
I'm very passionate about the ability to deliver training workshops and coaching because my mom did that for 23 years and I gave up a job to go and work with her and I faced those same fears.
What was she training on?
She was training on banking and finance because she worked in HSBC, and then when she gave up her job to go and become a trainer, I said, I'd love to do that with you. I was 21, didn't really know anything and had a lot of those fears, but I loved every moment of it. But sometimes training doesn't only happen in the classroom. It happens in other business interactions. I was telling you, Marka, very recently, both of us had a call about a website, but you gave me a bit of feedback that no one had cared enough to give me. You told me when I asked you about something, hey, I like your videos, but they've got too much slow motion in them. And to this date, I will never, ever forget that because I knew somebody had to care to give that feedback. And I'm always very conscious of that. How do you find the time in your daily routine? Because you've got to run a business, be a father, be a husband, look after your team, look after your clients. But also when people reach out, when people connect, how do you find that space to care?
You've got to be able to, I guess, be confident enough that your opinions matter, but also not be afraid to share them and have other people tell you that they're wrong. I grew up, I guess, when I was a teenager, really taking it personally if people didn't listen to my opinion or told me that I was wrong. I would get angry, I'd get sad, I'd rage. Like I would get so just, oh, listen to me, I'm always right, rah, rah. It was just such a problem. So in business, if you can help, you should help, right? And sure, you don't need to take slow motion out of your videos if you don't want to. I'm on one opinion. All you need to say to me is, you're not my customer, and my customers love slow motion. They love the pan and the slide, and it's a cool effect, but does it lose people? Like, I should be able to understand your customers and make sure that my opinion is framed in your needs. That's what my clients do. If I can help someone for free with my knowledge in the meantime, great. Because if that helps them do better, then down the track, you'll be able to help someone else. And like, it's the kind of the pay it forward mentality, right? But the good people come back and help me. They'll come back and tell me something that I can improve or fix. What I struggle with is everyone just telling you what you want to hear or being nice to you. And I learned that when I went and did a professional training course. And it was professional presenting and training, and I'd done a lot of it. But then I thought, I've never done it professionally. I've never paid to be taught. I was kind of self-taught, modeled myself off other people. And I went and did it. And I go, what do you want to get out of this course? Because it's clear that you're confident and you've got a good style and stuff like that. I go, I need to be told what everyone else won't tell me, which is to my face the truth about where I can improve. Can you please, like whatever you're doing today, I know I'm at a certain level, just get me 1% better. And they go, thank you for saying that, because some people don't want to hear it. I go, yeah, like smash me down if you have to. I'm here for it. And they just found small tweaks, small improvements, directed me towards the next bit that I could improve. And so I kind of learnt from that. Like you can always be learning, but I kind of learned through sharing. If I can open a conversation by sharing a little tidbit with someone, do it. The other day I got paid to help someone organize a photographer. I sent her the photos and then sent her a list of 5 things that she could use those photographs to do. And if she's going to send out her slides, chuck some photographs with the slides. And she said, I know I only paid you for photography, but thank you so much. That's actually what I really need. The photos just would have sat there because I would have thought about all the other things and then I would have paused again, and we're going to start working together. I didn't do it to get a new client. I did it because I thought, how are these photos going to help her? And how can we use this to really solve her problem? And I'm going to look forward to working with her because we've got similar brains, busy brains. But I'm really I'm really thinking like if you can help, you should help. And if it's a minute for some marketing advice, if it's a minute to help somebody, with a not-for-profit or something like that. But I also learned that I can't help everyone, and I need to make sure that I am thinking about my family and spending time, on my own mental health, and I am caring about my next door neighbors. And so you've definitely got to find that balance, because if you're always giving and never getting, and you're not looking after yourself, you'll be broken. You're stuffed. You can't help anyone at any time. So growing up has kind of experience has given me that the time to learn those lessons, but I need to keep being reminded. So, I have to be told to slow down and stop, and you can't help everyone. Some days I go, yep, you're right. I can't. I'll leave it at that.
Having the passion you have, having the opinion you have, having the confidence you have. Sometimes not every relationship in your personal life, in your business life is going to go smoothly. Some people are not going to like something you've said. Do you actively seek to build up those relationships, repair those relationships, or do you let time heal some of them?
I'll be remembered by some people as being an arrogant wanker. I'll be treated as some people as being a confident fool. I'll be thought about by some people for, having opinions that are forced onto other people because that's how they felt. Or I'll be treated by some people as being overbearing or too loud or not considerate enough. And like, if I've genuinely hurt someone, or if I've genuinely not taken enough time to listen and think about it, I'll apologize to them and I'll say sorry. And when I was younger, I didn't do that. It was my way or the highway. And I got to the point where I had a manager pull me up, and this was working at a hotel, and we're working in functions, and he goes, and I was 18, 19. And he pulled me up and he goes, I'm going to teach you and his name was Eddie. He goes, I'm going to teach you a very important lesson in life. He was Spanish, thick Spanish accent. And he goes, I'm going to teach you a very important lesson in life. He's going, the best lessons are learned by listening. And he said, and God, and he goes, there is a God. He was a very religious man. He was the functions manager. I was the assistant manager. He goes, God gave us all three things: 2 ears and 1 mouth. So the lesson in life that God has taught us is to use these twice as much as you use this, or use this half as much as you use those. And me being the arrogant 19-year-old that I was, I go, are you sure that was God's lesson, or you're not just using this to tell me to shut up? And he's going, at this moment, listen, the world will answer that question. We paused. He walked out. I thought, he just told me to shut up. But in a very religious and Spanish way, in the fantastic way that I trusted him as my manager. And I did pause for effect at that moment, going, yeah, I need to talk less and listen more. So that's kind of one of those big things. And you're not gonna nail every relationship. You're not gonna nail every moment. You're gonna miss the mark. But as long as you're smart enough, brave enough, and humble enough to turn around and say sorry when you do break things, I hope that. And there has been moments in my professional life, and I've had a client ring me up and say that at this moment, you actually said something about me that I disclosed to you, and I hadn't told other people. I wasn't telling you that so you could use that on a microphone in front of other people. I said, what do you mean? I don't ever remember saying that. And she goes, I heard it. I need you to know that that really affected me. And sometimes when I put my performance face on, or I'm standing there and I'm motivating a crowd, I have to remember where I am, what information I have, how important, I can use, what stories can I use and can't I use? This isn't breakfast radio where everything is fodder, and, you might piss someone off right now. I've got to really respect those relationships and that their power and that information, that skill of talking and the confidence and all of that has, because at the end of the day, caring for people in those relationships are more important than that next laugh that you might get. And someone said to me, they go, you kind of combine training and marketing with stand-up comedy. And I just said, yeah, but it's because this stuff can be really boring. I want to lighten it up because I feel that's my style and that's how I can help people learn, by having fun with it, and they might remember it a little bit more, but not taking life too seriously. So yeah, I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to be friends with everyone. I'm not going to impress everyone. My style isn't for everyone, but for the people that it matters to, I need to make sure I look after them. And that's what matters to me. And it's kind of like, sometimes you're a bit of a politician. Not everyone's going to vote for you, and you have to accept that. Not everyone's going to agree with your policies, but where you can make a difference and where you can help people and they're on your side and they're your tribe, look after them and make sure that you're caring for them. Everybody else, they still exist, and just make sure you're not damaging those relationships, but value the relationships, put time and care into it, and look after the people that are looking after you. That's kind of the relationship lesson that I've learned. And yeah, Eddie's lesson, listen twice as more than you speak.
Okay, that seems to be a huge theme in your busy life. I see you do lots of work around men's mental health with Men's Link, and lots of really passionate things. Again, whether I see you doing a walk or a run, or speaking with like-minded people. Tell me about your work with Men's Link, and why does it matter to you?
Yeah, so Men's Link is a profit for purpose, a NFP group in Canberra, a charitable organisation that actually supports young guys aged 10 to 25. And what they do is through mentoring, education and counselling. So free counselling, free mentoring programs and education in primary schools, high schools and colleges in Canberra. They help young guys become more confident in themselves. They help young guys that have got struggles in their life, that come from families that they've had a really bad shot with. They haven't had a positive experience. They've got anger, there's violence in their life. They help to reduce suicide. They help to reduce domestic violence. They help young guys to become better contributing members of society, because they can understand their emotions. They can deal with the trauma of the pain and abuse that they've suffered, and reducing the pain and abuse they're inflicting on others, because that's what they've learned. Men's Link can break the cycle by helping young guys to realize that when times get tough, there's people that care about them. They need to care about themselves, and it might be their mates, it might be their teachers, it might be their parents. Professional help seeking isn't something to be ashamed with. Go and have a chat with a counsellor. Like, you're not broken. You're getting help. Like I got help in business by paying people to help me. Like, find these people in your life. But with Men's Link, if we can support Men's Link and, single mums with a daughter and a son, and the son's really struggling and the mum's at a wit's end and she doesn't know what to do, and he's got to the point where he thinks that there's nothing left, he shouldn't have to pay and wait for a psychologist or a psychiatrist or another bloke in his life to just turn up and be consistent. He can get free counselling with no wait, and that might be the circuit breaker in their life, and that might be the turning point that could really, really make a difference. What an awesome cause. There's so many great causes out there, but for me, Men's Link is one of those ones that I've identified with as something that I can help in a really deep and meaningful way, and I can create change. I did it because of my passion for helping others, but also lived experience. Like, my family's had mental health struggles, and as a young guy, I was angry, and I had trauma, and I was dealing with all of these problems. And I thought, well, what if that had have happened and helped me at that moment in my life, and could have helped my mum or my dad or my brother, or things would have been different. They might not have been better, but they would have been different if Men's Link had have existed in 1990, or 1994 when I was 10 or 14. And that's important. So not more important than family, but more important than business. But if I can use my business to help things that are bigger than myself and more important, and help save one life, how much is that worth? And I love the ad from the Road Traffic Authority in New South Wales. where they ask the question about how many fatalities every year on the roads are okay. And there's a guy standing there and they're going, what's an okay death toll? And because the death toll last year in New South Wales might have been, 1,000 people or 800 people, right? The Christmas death toll might have been 300 and you heard it on the news. And they go, what do you think's acceptable? And he goes, I don't know. Like, what is it now? If it's 1,000, maybe 100? Like, how far could we reduce? And they go, 100. Okay. Are you sure? And he goes, oh, nah, 50. And then 50 people that he knows walk out in front of him. And he goes, oh, that's my wife. And that's my kids. And that's my parents. And that's my neighbors. And that's my workmates. And then you realize that 0 is the okay number. With men's mental health and youth suicide and domestic violence, 0 is the only number that's okay, right? How do we get there? Together. How do we use business? How do we use skills? How do we use social workers? How do we use counselors? How do we use corporate support? How do we use politics? How do we use government funding? It's bloody complex because it's about brains. Mental health is about brains and life and choices and how the exposure that we've had that has formed our experiences that then cause our brain to do the next thing. And there's so much going on in life that you can't always guarantee that it's going to be good exposures leading to healthy brain development. Genetics, DNA, medical reasons. Mental health is such a complex part. If I can be a small part, make my business a small part of that and my community of support be a small part of that, I can help the next young guy, the next mum, the next sister, the next daughter. I can help myself. I can be purely selfish about it, but God, you meet a lot of good people along the way, and we have a lot of fun.
I lost my father when I was 4 years old. I was raised by a strong woman. There were moments that I remember going through where they were difficult, but I didn't have that connection. I was fortunate to be raised in a big Sri Lankan community, so there are people you can speak with.
It's the village.
Around. The village, right?
The village
that raised us. How big is the problem now, Todd, for young boys growing up? And has our community moved away from young men?
People always talk about mental health being in crisis. People are in crisis. Our community is in crisis. I've never lived in an age where I've seen mental health in our community being at a level where it's okay. Because the only place where it's going to be okay if we're all safe and we're all doing well. That will never happen, ever. Because there is, like I spoke about before, the complexities of mental health, there'll always be a level of need. But the level of need has never been higher for young guys and their families and those mums because society has never been harder, more expensive, faster to live in. And that's the rate of change. Housing affordability affecting vulnerable families in which dad either might have not been in the picture from day one or might not have been able to live with a family for some reason or has passed away for an unrelated reason, or might have been involved in family violence. Dad might be in jail, right? Dad might be overseas, has another family. Like so many things change for these families. And with Men's-Link, 80% of the families that engage with Men's-Link are single mum families. And they don't end up at Men's-Link because everything's going perfectly well. They end up at Men's-Link because they need help. They need to get help around them and they don't have that village and they need to build that around them. But in terms of the mental health crisis, older men and, 45, 50, 60, 65, they still have mental health problems. But the number one leading cause of death for men under the age of 25 is suicide. You take every other cause and add it up, you can double it and it's suicide. It's because those young guys don't have the support and they've got to the end. And they don't know that there's help there for them, and they make a bad decision because they've never been shown how to make a good one. They've never been helped or encouraged, right? So the fact that you grew up without a dad from the age of 4 would have been bloody tough on you. Where Men's Link may have got involved in your life, if there was a Sri Lankan Men's Link, is you turned 10, and because they work with 10 to 25-year-olds, and your mum said, how do I find a male that can turn up and be consistent in this life and just show what being a good bloke looks like and model some of those behaviors? Their mentor program isn't about fixing young guys that are broken. It's about giving a moment of consistency in a young guy's life that could change the path. That could show them what good looks like. They could see another family that is different to theirs. And there's no such thing as a normal family. I don't have a normal family. You don't have a normal family. You've got your version of it. But when times do get tough, like, who's there to help? There's not enough funding for Men's Link. There's not enough funding for any of the mental health services that are out there. And there's a tsunami of people in need. And there always has been. And how do we make governments, how do we make businesses, and how do we make, corporate philanthropists see that this is the most important area of need in Canberra right now? By sharing the stories, by increasing the awareness, by creating the connections, by creating moments like running for resilience and the stuff Ben Alexander's doing over at the dock, by doing the geocon stair climb and the stuff that the developers are doing with their tradies, by turning up at a work site, and Men's Link is doing counselling for young tradies, by turning up in a school with a program that's been running for 13 years or 14 years now called Silence is Deadly, that encourages young guys and helps to retrain them and tell them that mental fitness is a thing. You can go to the gym and increase your muscles, but what are you doing for your brain? And talking to your mates is a way of improving your mental fitness. And when you're feeling a bit stuck or a bit broke, if you feel like the weight is on your shoulders, who can you get to spot you? Teaching young guys that talking is the great thing to do, not the stupid thing to do, because male stereotypes and the stupidity of a heap of the crap you see on social media about what, and I hate the word toxic masculinity, it's a stupid label, but seeing and hearing bad advice in social media is absolutely easier to consume than hearing some good advice from a mate, or going to a talk at a school, or being part of an 8-week program that teaches you about respectful relationships with men, women, mums, sisters, daughters, but also teachers, and how to be a leader in your own life. That's what Men's Link does. And it's hard to fight it. They're doing a small contribution to a big problem. And it's the village that's required around improving men's mental health needs to be strengthened. And it can be strengthened through support of businesses like mine, businesses like yours, by the government, by people understanding of the ripple effect and the impacts of helping one young guy at the age of 10, helping him again at 14, not losing track of him when he's 18, helping him get a job, contribute, start a family, be an awesome young guy, and contribute to a future that he wants to see and he wants to be part of, rather than ending it early. Everyone has value. We need to help the people in need, and we can change the world. But we can fix our own little neighborhood first, and that's what I do in Canberra.
That's such really good work. It takes time from you. It takes time from your, not daily hustle, but from your daily work that you have
mate,
to
it takes an abnormally high amount of time.
But it's really rewarding work. What do we need to know about what working with Men's Link has done for you as a person?
Working with charitable organisations that have their shit together, and I put Men's Link in a special bucket of actually having their shit together. Putting someone like Men's Link, if I can donate an hour or $1, and I do commercial work with Men's Link, they pay me for a little bit of the stuff that we do. If I can give that back 10 times, I will. But if we can take small amounts of money, if I can create a business connection and use one of my clients to help support Men's Link, if I can create awareness, and if I can do all of these little things, I get to live my values of helping people and genuinely wanting to create change, right? Marketing that changes lives. Like, it's the extreme When you save a life, that's the extreme help. That's the extreme end of help, right? If I can use marketing to help save a life, unreal, awesome. But if I can use marketing, and let's be selfish. Yeah, it's about lived experience. It's about me changing how it might have been. That was just one of my motivations to get started. From a business point of view, I met other cool businesses, great businesses. They see me, I'm exposed to them. That's my marketing as well. I'm not just altruistic in what I want to do. There is commercial benefit of supporting Men's Link, right? And I can create great connections, but I can be part of a community of other good people that are aligned with, how it feels when you help someone. You meet great people, and there's a lot of waste of time networking organizations out there that are only focused on business and don't actually, they only help the bottom line. They don't help the community, and you don't convert anything. And there's no better networking than helping a charity to help them grow, and then you make those commercial connections. But the personal impact and the personal outcome of investing the large amount of time that I choose to invest in that, oh mate, it fills my bucket. It fills my boots. I love it. If I can inspire somebody else to see that that's worth doing in their business, and then they can then, do that themselves. And I'm always inspired by other businesses that donate, contribute, and spend their time. And then the conversation about how can we do more? And then it's a rolling rock that just gets bigger and bigger. It's the snowball effect. And, the ripple effect of helping someone in the community is amazing, but the snowball, gathering more support and gathering more help, if I can take my time that I commit and then inspire other people to help, I've got to tap out at some point. Like with Men's Link, I'm not tapping out anytime soon, but we've been doing the Great Walk. It's a massive fundraiser for Men's Link, and I put about 150 to 200 hours of time into it to get it to the start line. The team at Men's Link put in way more than me, but I volunteer my time, and it's probably that much. I volunteer the time of my work. I pay my team to get involved and do stuff, and so we put heaps of hours and heaps of time into it. The awareness that's created in the last 5 years, and the money that we've actually raised in the last 5 years, it's about $1.3 million in the last 5 years, and also helping to lift Men's Link's profile so another mum can find out about them and can use them, but also commercially for another business to go, they've got their shit together, they're doing a really good job. I kind of get addicted to it, and I don't know how to stop. And I think charities rely on people that feel like that. Like, I don't feel trapped. I feel so involved that it's my job to get the next people involved. But I can tell you, when I do the Great Walk every November, the 5 days that I get to speak to other people in deep conversations and listen, ears and mouth, right? I get to listen and hear the stories of 30 other business owners and leaders and people having their own struggles, but you cut through the crap in 5 days. Like, it's not just surface level stuff. You actually start investing in people and developing those great relationships. It's hard to do in business. Like, when you grow up and you're an adult, you're not hanging out with other kids in the classroom. You'll find parents on a sideline of a sporting field, or you'll have your mates and you might go out for a beer, but it's hard to find and build those really deep relationships. 5 days of walking around Canberra and doing 150 Ks, living with those people, it's kind of like school camp for adults. If I can raise $400,000 for Men's Link and help do that, that's my 200 hours well spent. That's all this time of my team and everything really well spent, because it comes back to that one young guy that we're helping, or that mum that we're helping. I think that's great. I'm going to have to tap out at some point, but until that day, I just want to keep motivating other people to help. So my job gets easier, but the impact gets larger. So I definitely believe in delegating and building the team around it, but also taking responsibility for the important job that I've signed up for, but also getting the rest of the business involved with as well, because Men's Link's worth it. Fearless Women, the program that they set up for young women, is worth it. Lifeline is worth it. Running for Resilience is worth it. Carina House is worth it. Vinnie's is worth it. I want everybody to find that one, cause in their life that's worth it, and really find the ways to help other people. And that's what I want to do till I die. Like, just how can we have fun solving problems for people, and using our skills, using our time, using our money to actually do it. I think that's the higher cause, the higher purpose. Maybe I sound like, I'm talking too much about care and giving back, but that's what we're here for, right? Let's create awareness of the importance for people and businesses that give back to the community and do it in Canberra. Like, the world needs our help, but doing it to help the people that you live next to and walk past every day, and you don't know what they're going through, and can we help them? Let's do it in Canberra.
Zooming out a little bit, people think about legacy later on in life. You're 45, young, still got lots of energy to do lots of things. How do you think about legacy? How do you think about what you want to set up?
I told you I've got a busy brain, right? I find it really hard to think about the future. I'm always thinking I'm living in the present, but my brain is always racing, probably 10 hours or 10 days ahead. I find it really hard to look at the next 20 or 30. Like, it's an alien concept. I find it really hard to grasp, but I see it. I see my parents and I think, what are they leaving behind? I look at someone like Terry Snow, one of Canberra's greatest philanthropists and a business, and what's he leaving behind? Well, the Snow Foundation and what his family's running is one of the most amazing legacies from his business career. And awesome. He became one of Australia's, most wealthiest businessmen that gave back and built a legacy. And his legacy is changing the built environment in Canberra, but he didn't leave it at that. And, Georgina and Steve and Tom and the families now got the opportunity to change and continue the social environment in Canberra, to continue the change in what they believe in and continue Terry's legacy. That will change, and Terry can't have a say in that after he's gone, right? But at the same time that the Snow Foundation is supporting heaps of organizations, and they support Men's Link as well. So, I'll be the first person to sit there and go, look at the Snow Foundation and the change that they're making. Why can't we have 10 Snow Foundations? How do we get our businesses together to actually do that? And, there is the AMP Foundation and the Toyota Foundation, but how do we create more of those grassroots giving organizations that can really find values-led causes to create long-lasting change? And one of the things that they do is create education. And it comes back to what we were talking about before. How can we educate people to show them that these are the things that really matter? And so if we can mix commercial profit-making activities with, impact and community-changing activities to improve the life for all of us and make our kids safer and make our lives better and make housing not a problem and make mental health less of a problem and make youth suicide less of a problem and domestic violence less of a problem, and all of these things that we suffer from, if we can reduce the suffering and help vulnerable people and make sure that people don't get next to the edge, like that's the legacy, right? But I don't need to wait. I don't see legacy as something that has to happen in the future. If I'm doing enough of the right things now and making enough of the right decisions, it's like the legacy will happen because we're creating the change that we want right now. If we do more of the right things, and I am not the biggest change maker in Canberra. I'm a tiny change maker. And I'm not always out there giving and helping, and like, we're only talking about that out of context today because it's good storytelling, right? It's a small part. 200 or 300 hours that I donate or whatever over the years is a small percentage of my total available time. And I can tell you that I do sit on my butt on the couch and do nothing sometimes. And I can tell you that I do go to the pub and have beers and talk rubbish with my mates sometimes. And I'm not better than anyone else. And there's heaps of people in Canberra that do a much better job than me. But if my legacy can be changing a life right now, and we're going to do it this year, and I never do it again, that's my legacy. It's kind of like my legacy can be created in the present. It doesn't need to be created in the future or be something that I leave behind. Can we leave a legacy from last week? Can you do something now that actually matters? So I think it's about conscious participation and giving a shit about what you care about. I'd love that to be a lesson in school, like the importance of community contribution, and kids do it in school and they'll donate and they'll participate, but it's a great way to get out of class. And some kids will realize, oh, this is really fun and I really enjoy it, so they'll do it later in life. But what if you really help them understand that not only do you need a job as a lawyer or a dentist or a doctor or a marketer or as a consultant or an educational leader or working in a help desk at an educational institution, if we can do that as a job, but then we kind of are told that your job also is to leave the world a better place than where you came, and everybody actually did it, maybe climate change would be better. Maybe mental health would be better. Like if we were forced to, in our tax return, say how many hours we donated rather than how much money we donated and what change did we actually make, and then that'll offset your tax, you'd count it. You'd work out your volunteering hours, and volunteering ACT and volunteering Australia to have a much easier job. The problem is volunteering is going backwards in Australia because we're not teaching the next generation how important it is, and things like the pandemic killed it. People lost the feeling of what it is to give back and get involved, and it's never been harder to run a not-for-profit organisation or a charitable organisation helping people because the government has less money because everything's gone up in price. Charities are going backwards, doing it tougher, and people are suffering as a result. How can we flip that? How can we flip the script and help a little bit? You don't need to be the CEO of an organization to do that. You can be the bottom of the rung, the brand new employee, and put your hand up and say, how can our business change something? We've got time or money. We've got people on the bench not doing anything. What can we do with that? So hopefully that's a legacy. I think now that I've done it so much directly and I've been a mentor at Men's Link, I've helped run fundraising, I've seen the impact it can make. I think one of my legacies can be convincing other people that doing it is right, because I think that's where my greatest leverage can be. Can I find 100 people to replicate what I've done, or find 100 people to be better than me, to do it in better ways that suit them? And that's where we get massive impact. I kind of want the exponential impact. Maybe that's my legacy.
Todd, if somebody wants to connect with you, have a conversation with you, just to explore a little more, to chat about, a business challenge they're facing, to start something, how does someone find you?
Oh, 3 sides. They're 3 sides marketing online. Hopefully over the last 17 years, I've practiced what I've preached and I've got good search engine optimization. And get me on LinkedIn. But remember, I like lunch or breakfast. I like hearing about other people's challenges. I do run a business. So if you want to do marketing, you need commercial marketing help, I'm going to charge for it, because if I can do that, that's great. If you don't have money, come to a marketing workshop. I'm doing them with clients all the time. And if other people are paying for them, other businesses, you can come for free. That's fantastic. Or if it takes lunch or coffee to actually start that conversation, and I can help you find other people that can help you in the Canberra community and help you build your business. Awesome. Let's talk. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Find us on Instagram, 3 sides. And just be prepared to be challenged. I'm always going 100 miles an hour. My team, they're awesome. They're talented. They're well experienced. But if you kind of need marketing that changes lives, if you want to get involved and do things differently, happy to talk. Let's do business. If not, I might see you at the next Men's Link event or the next Vinnie's event, or insert next charitable thing in here, and I'm going to watch you doing something. That's what fills my bucket.
Todd, thank you for the generosity of your time, the vibrance of your ideas, and for letting me nudge and poke you on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for what you have done for your team, the community. Always cheering for you, always loving what you do, always wishing that what you do for other people to look after, that you have the discipline and commitment to do for yourself, so the people who love you the most, who care for you the most, get to see more of you.
Thanks for being on my team, Evan.
Thank you. A massive thank you to Crown Plaza Canberra for hosting this episode of the podcast. If you are looking for really nice accommodation in close proximity to Canberra CBD, or if you want well-appointed meeting spaces, check out Crown Plaza Canberra. Thank you again.